Welcome to another episode of the wonderful Alberni Valley Experience, the Wave. I am your host, Don Texan, coming to you live from my living room here in Port Alberni because we're still in semi self isolation, although we are in phase three of opening up the province, our beautiful British Columbia, which has so far, as far as I know, the best record in dealing with flattening the curve. Congratulations to everyone who did their part, and special kudos to Dr. Bonnie Henry, our beautiful mother doctor of British Columbia. Anyway, back to the wave. The wonderful Alberni Valley Experience is coming to you from the unceded territories of the Hoopa and the Shot peoples. I'm just learning to acknowledge that now. I've been doing so many episodes of the wave, and I've learned just recently to acknowledge and be happy about the fact that we are in the unceded territories of the Hoopa and the Shot peoples. Today, I'm interviewing a friend and a guest who's very near and dear to me. We met in a very interesting manner. We'll tell you about that later. So without further much ado, as usual, let me introduce to you my guest for today's episode of The Wave, Frances Sullivan, my dear darling friend. Hello, Frances.
Hello,
You've been on
John.
my interview list for a long time, and I finally caught up with you.
I'm
Do you
so
remember?
happy to be here. Hmm?
Or do you remember me? You came to live in Port Alberni, but you don't live in Port Alberni now, but you have had a wonderful Alberni Valley experience, having have lived here for 6 months,
Hmm.
and it was a wave, as far as I know, and you affirm that. And do you recall how we met?
We met at a pub, didn't we?
Mhm.
With Nathan and
And Chris.
Chris. Oh my gosh, sorry, Chris. Her name just blurped out of my. Yes,
Well, I don't know if
they.
you know the background story. I was still working at the time, and then I got a text message from Chris. Apparently, you met Chris's mom on a bus
I did
ride.
on the bus ride in.
Okay, and then Chris texted me like hurriedly and excitedly saying, "Oh, you must meet this woman that my mom ran into at the bus coming back from I don't know where, from Victoria maybe or something." And so she texted me, and I rushed to the pub, to the Kingsway pub, and I met you there for the first time. And we sort of like we connected automatically. And although I do remember my manners were kind of out of place at the time because I'm a cell phone addict. I mean, I am.
Oh, wow.
So while we were talking and chatting and exchanging pleasantries, I pull out my phone. And do you remember what you said to me?
No, no.
That was quite, well, I remember.
Okay, lay it on me.
Let me refresh your memory a little
Oh
bit.
gosh. Oh gosh. Do I want to
You
know?
said, you looked at me like, like this, with all your poise and your, so poisedly and said, "Excuse me." You said, "Am I boring you?"
Did I say that? Really? Oh my gosh.
Well, it's not your fault. I mean, in hindsight, I mean, that was kind of impolite in my part,
Oh, I know, but
right? So
I,
I've learned through. I mean, it's just like second nature for people nowadays to just whip out their phone and they're sitting at one table and they're still tapping on their phone even when they're in front of each other.
I know, but I do,
What has this world come to?
I know, it's terrible. It's terrible. I apologize for being
No,
rude.
no, no. I had a worse reaction from another friend. Like he doesn't like cell phones,
Oh,
but he is on Facebook by sort of like by force. And so the three of us, there was another
okay.
group.
I think I know who this friend is.
Okay, sure, we won't mention any names right
No, we
now,
won't
but
mention any names.
so we were all, there were three of us. I think it was me and two other girls. We were tapping away on our phone while we were hanging out at the pub, the same pub, the Kingsway pub.
Kingsway.
And all of a sudden, my friends suddenly says, "Oh, look at us having such a wonderful social time. You
That's
three and your phones." I thought he was just joking, like making light of the situation, but no, but he was seriously indignant about the whole situation. And
wow.
so he stands up and says, "I'm out of here." Like,
Oh, really? He left.
and,
Oh
and
dear.
then
Oh dear.
everybody said, "What happened? What happened?" He was so upset that And he was trying to drive in a point, and which he did. From that time on, whenever I'm with him, I put away my phone. I should have taken my cue from you.
It is a huge distraction though, isn't it? Like we don't interact with people. Like it's a way to escape
Hmm.
interacting with people, right? Like it's a way of putting ourselves right here and pushing everyone else that's in our space away, right? And we can just, yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah, but well, at the time before that incident, I thought nothing of it. I mean, so what? I have a phone and we're talking, and for
yeah.
once in a while we'll say hi and exchange little quips between each other. But ever since that day, the funny thing is, when the two other ladies realized what had happened, that we had upset our friend, they said, "Oh, I better text him right now." I said,
He doesn't have a phone.
"Yeah, he does. Nobody has Facebook, so they're gonna message him on Facebook." That was just too funny.
Far too
Anyway,
much social media.
that's
And
how Francis and I met. Chris found you so fascinating that she said, "You have to meet me."
yes,
I
wow.
guess in her mind, someone equally fascinating. And so
Oh,
we
yeah.
become friends, and you lived here in Port Alberni. What year was this again? Do you recall?
Yeah, it was 3 years ago.
Okay. So let's
So
go back to that.
17.
Let's go
Yeah.
back to that in relation to the wave. What brought you to the wonderful Alberni Valley?
I was living in England in the time of Brexit rather
Oh,
than
really?
COVID-19. And my daughter has been living there. My youngest has been living there since 2003. And I've gone back and forth and back and forth. And I decided that I wanted to move and stay. So I went and I was living there and had made an application, and that everyone thought would be approved. And then Brexit came along, and lo and behold, it wasn't approved. And they sent me packing in short order. So I didn't have any place to go back to because I had sold up my home here in Canada and in Ontario and whatever. So I didn't have any place to go. And my daughter, my eldest daughter, um, had been in Vancouver since about 99. And she had a new baby at the time and a 1-bedroom house. So they couldn't really put me up. So I went looking online for accommodation, like house sitting.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a house in this place called Port Alberni. And being as ignorant to the geography of Vancouver as I was at that time, I thought, oh, it's just over on the island, right? Like, ugh. Um, and I suppose, in fairness, I had been to Victoria and I had been to Nanaimo, but they are right there at the border, aren't they? I mean, Port Alberni is a long way up. Anyway, I had a place to live, and at that time it was for 4 months. And I thought, well, I'll get myself settled and I'll find, some work, haha, and blah blah, and all the rest of it, and finish my book. So I do all my traveling. I arrive in Vancouver. I get to the get to the ferry. I visited with my daughter for a couple of days, and then I take the ferry over, and I get on the bus, and that's where I met Chris's wonderful mom. And we sat and chatted, and she gave me all kinds of lessons on the landscape on our way. The beautiful the cedar grove, and the all the things we were seeing that were so beautiful. And then we pull into this town that kind of, I thought, oh my God, where am I? This looks like I thought, oh my God, I've never seen bigger streets ever, like
Oh, there you
wider
go.
streets ever, and no buildings. Like, I mean, like this is cityscape, not townscape. This is, like, and then all the Western style kind of, Western style slap up buildings. I thought, oh no, I have made a huge mistake. What have I done? And then I get dropped off at the bus, and of course I realize, like they did, you know, everybody there knew everything was closed, right? Like there's nothing open after, you know, the street rolls up at 5 or whatever. And I thought, oh, well, I'll have to get a cab, or can I walk to where I live, you know? And no, it's a bit of a walk. So then my real estate, the woman who was renting it pulls up, right? She pulls up to take me to the house. I thought, oh, great. And she's got a 2-seater sports car. And I've just come from England with everything I own except my furniture. And she says, oh,
You came with your furs and your jewelry.
I thought, how am I gonna get there? So Nathan pulls up with a truck, and then so that Nathan goes in. And so then the next step to this, not only I'm thinking, okay, this is fine. I'm sure there'll be some charming elements. Like I haven't seen the water yet, right? Like I haven't seen the harbor or any of that scape yet. So Nathan takes me to the house, and this is funny. The real estate agent was afraid to go in the house. She was afraid to go. Well, because
it was haunted.
It had been sitting empty, and she thought, what if there's somebody living inside? And I thought, wait, okay. And I wanted to put my hand up, and I might have even done that, and I said to her,
of course, you're English.
this is well, I said to her, I said, you're not really giving me a lot of vote of confidence here. Like, this is going to be my home for 4 months, and now you're afraid to go in the door. Like, thank you. I don't know anybody here, like nobody. I don't know this town. I don't know my way around. I don't know anyone here. And you're afraid to go in the house. Thanks. I'm feeling really positive about this. So Nathan says, oh no. And Chris says, oh no. And of course they open the door, and Nathan walks all through the house knocking on things, you know, and whatever. And I'm thinking, wow, I've got this enormous house to myself for 4 months. Yeah. And then lo and behold, I mean, things unfolded. I went to Char's and met the fantastic Charlene, and I met, you know, you and yeah. And the place just grew on me. And what you might find strange, or what some people find strange, is I am a visual person, so I do like beautiful things. And but then beauty is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? And an experience of a place is more than just its landscape. Right, it's the peoplescape, and it's the energy of the place. And I had a few ups and downs, as we all do when we're living with people. It's part of living there, but overall, it was just an incredibly powerful and positive experience. And where I grew up in Southern Ontario, I grew up in a small town that was surrounded by reserves. And one of my first jobs while I was still at school was writing for a local newspaper. And one of my first interviews was on one of the reservations called Walpole Island. And in my youth, I grew up with that community mingling with my community as much as it did in that time. And it did much less during that time, because Indians had to live on the reserve, right? Native people had to stay on the reserve in order to take care of their benefits, in order to get all the benefits that the government was so gracious to bestow on them. Disgusting stuff, but
so gracious.
Yeah, so not. And
they own it. They're not even paying half of it. Anyway, we'll get to that.
Yeah. So it's just those were memories for me of some of the essence of this country, the true nature of this country. And that's what I found when I went to Port Alberni, was that I was once again living on their land, right? And
Hmm.
within their people as much, I mean, I don't, you know what I mean? And it made me feel safe and wonderful to be, I don't, I don't have to go and hang out on, with them or anything. It's that wonderful essential part of this country that I think we've maybe lost touch with, because we've hurt them so badly. Like, over hundreds of years, we've stolen everything. We've stolen their dignity. We've stolen their faith, their culture, their language,
Their
and
lives.
their lives, and we owe them
So
everything for
much.
having protected this country, right? Having protected the natural part of this country for us to enjoy, or make a mess of. So that was something that I really was able to reacquaint myself with, those memories of my youth growing up in a community that was, again, more segregated than Port Alberni, but it was a wonderful feeling. And yeah, I grew to love it. And I still have my good friends in Port Alberni, which is really lovely. Yeah,
And we see you every now and then at the Alberni Words on Fire, which we now do by a Zoom. And just recently, you were the featured reader.
I was the featured
And
reader.
you read from your book. Could you tell us a little bit about the book? So, by the way, I forgot to mention my dear friend Francis is an author and a publisher. And you have been writing for how long now, darling?
Well, I've been writing for over 20 years as a content writer, editor, and ghostwriter. I was hired by firms in I was hired by companies to write blogs for them.
Mm-hmm.
So they would give me the subject, and I would write it, and then their company name or one of their people's names would go on it. So I've been writing. And then writing on my own, I edited my daughter's book and published it in 2016, I believe. And then I've been writing 2 books for about 20 years on and off, and I decided it was time to throw it in. So when I was in Port Alberni, I wrote a book that I named On the Seventh Day. I've changed the title of that to In 7 Days. And
What's it
but
about?
like the title suggests, the book has a biblical essence to it.
Mm-hmm.
7 days. So
Yes, I know. God created the world in seven
in
days.
7 days,
Six
amazing.
actually, but he rested on the seventh, but he
And
created it.
God rested on the seventh. Yeah, she
This is
rested on the
becoming
seventh.
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Continue,
So,
please.
so this woman is Celia Jameson, and Celia Jameson is a very successful, beautiful woman who is shit. She's not very nice. She's a bit off the rails, and she works with her best friend, a man named Oren Kavanaugh, and Oren. Her best friend. He's Irish. He's from Dublin. He is gay,
He
and
is?
he is gay.
Is he cute?
Very cute. He's very, very cute. Very cute. You
But
get little.
he is a fictitious character, right?
Yeah,
All right.
he's my alter ego.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Okay.
he's lovely, and so the book opens with it being 7 days from Celia's 50th birthday, and Oren says, "I've got an idea. I want you to have a look at your life. You know that you're really on a downward spiral, and I want you to do a review." She says, "What, like Tolstoy?" And he said, "No, like Genesis. Start from scratch and work your way up. Add some light to the mix. Add the pieces and components of your life, and then see how it." Now, what she begrudgingly agrees to this quest of his, because the prize at the end is her birthday celebrated in Paris, a city she knows
Oh,
very well, but it's one of her favorite cities. And who would miss up the chance to have an all expenses weekend in gay Paris?
of
So
course.
she says, "Okay, that's worth it. I'll do it." She knows that there are some things that she's been avoiding, but she'll do it. Now, what she doesn't know is that he doesn't care about the 7 days. and he doesn't care about anything that she's been through. He's got a secret, and he knows the truth of her life and her family, and she knows absolutely none of it. And it's going to literally blow her mind. And because of life events that had followed previously, she had not been in a state of mind to hear the truth of her life. And he couldn't keep the secret anymore. So he devised this plan and knew that she would have to start opening boxes and looking at the past. And when she did, it would be his open window to start telling her the truth of her life. And it unfolds in those 6 days. It unfolds. And nothing that she thought was one way is. It was all,
Wow.
yeah.
Sounds like a very intriguing plot. So it's coming
So.
out, or is it already out?
No, it's not out. I'm still editing. I'm stuck in an editing loop. They say that's what they call it. That's why I'm going to love chatting to
Colton.
Colton, and if I haven't finished it by then, that is when I come over to visit the end of the month, so the end of July. So, but it is done. The book is done.
Okay.
The words are down. The editing is, again, I'm around and around and around. And I've been also working on my other book called Adopting Elizabeth. So I switch back and forth, and I go from one book to another book.
So when you were here in Port Alberni, so as I understand, you were here in Port Alberni,
yeah,
kind of by accident. So your wave is actually like a wonderful accidental valley experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Serendipitous.
Exactly. So did you do any writing during the time, or just, connecting with the community and connecting
Oh no,
with...
I wrote every day when I was almost every day. Lori
Wow.
Blakely, who you will be interviewing in a few days, I guess, and who who performed at Words on Fire this week.
Yeah.
She used to help me with the plot line a lot, as well as there is a coffee shop. There was a Starbucks-like coffee shop above the Quality Foods Market.
Yes, yes.
I don't know.
Step Above. It was called Step Above. It's still there.
It's still there?
It's Step Above. It's a very nice place. Yeah.
And they had a shop, a beautiful
yeah.
shop. I would go over there because my house didn't have Wi-Fi.
Oh, I see.
Which was wonderful because I'd put my tunes on and I'd do my yoga and I'd do my meditation, and then I'd sit in the quiet and write. And then when I needed to go do some research, I'd just pack up and I'd walk the 2 blocks over to Quality Foods and sit in there. And
that's another thing that's wonderful about Port Alberni. Everything's just hop, skip, and a block away, or a hop away.
Well, and for me, I didn't have a vehicle. I still don't. And where I was living was perfect, right? Because I could walk to the harbor, I could walk to the grocery store. Yeah, everything is really nice that way. And it's just so amazing. And the views looking out my window at the mountains in the morning, and the landscape, oh, it's just amazing. And I was up a bit. I think I was above the tsunami line.
Do you recall what road you were on? Or are you a 5th? Because a 5th is the above the tsunami line. If you're over 5th, I recall bringing you home one time, or driving you home one time. Yeah, you were 8. So you are above the tsunami line.
Yeah. Because I think Pat's place was down. Anyway, so getting back to, so I wrote a lot, and I actually finished the book when I was living in Port Alberni. So Port Alberni gets the kudos for, even though I didn't manage to get it published. And to be honest with you, I'm still hoping that the cover will be designed by someone from Port Alberni.
Oh, Colton is your guy for sure. I've seen his cover designs, and he just has a mind that goes like 1,000 clicks a minute. So you'll have a hard time keeping up with him.
I'm sure.
And goes and goes and goes. But
Amazing.
the one thing I love about this young man is there is no trace of arrogance at all. He's
No, I
great,
didn't get that at all either.
he knows it, but there's no trace of haughtiness or arrogance or everything. It's just a
No.
straightforward honesty and no trace of arrogance or pride at all.
Yeah, he's he's a
Amazing.
very go-to kind of guy, isn't he? Like he's
Mhm.
just, yeah, yeah. I like that
So
business.
it makes me curious now. So you stayed in Port Alberni for 6 months. So, and you were having a wonderful Alberni Valley experience. And I didn't even realize you had gone already because you're on Facebook. That's where we meet each other. I didn't realize you were away. So, what caused you to move away?
Um, Rentals were not very prolific when I was there. Like finding a place to live when I was there wasn't easy. Plus, I hadn't really had a chance to spend that much time with my daughter and her baby. They didn't come over to the island, and it was just, I wasn't, anyway. So I came to Vancouver to work
Mm-hmm.
and and to and to sort of have more time with my grandbaby. And I
How
ended
old is
up,
your grandbaby now? Is it a
well,
daughter
she,
or a
yeah,
son?
she just, her name is Mabel, and she just turned 4 June 10th this
Oh
month.
wow, that's
And
quite the age already.
oh, I love it. Yeah, she's wonderful. And so yeah, so I got to spend a lot of time with her, and then I ended up getting several jobs, and yeah, and I've been I've been tutoring um, pretty much steadily since then, and now I'm going to retire again and go back to writing full time.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Anyways, now that you are already in Vancouver, you still maintain your ties to Port Alberni. I still
I
see you
do.
on Words on Fire. So tell me a little bit about that. How are you able to manage, and what is your feeling and your experience with maintaining ties to the people in Port Alberni, like with me and Shar and the people with Words on Fire and stuff like that?
Um,
You
I've
miss
never
us, don't you?
I miss you terribly. I do. And to be perfectly honest, I'm actually thinking. So I've applied to go back to the UK. They've um, and so we'll see whether or not that comes through. And if it does, then I'll probably go to the UK. But I'm looking to move back to the island now. So I'm
Oh, that's wonderful.
so I've been looking at places online to see if there are any rentals or what the scoop is for properties, and then I'll get over there and buy a small car and be an islander, because this is yeah,
And then I
I
shall
miss,
translate way to for you to be welcome back to the Alberni Valley.
yeah, yeah, no, I'm really, I would love to be able to come back because this yeah, yeah, it's
When you were here, did you get to go to like visit some places like hiking trails, like the Hole in the Wall or the Lookout in the 6 months that you were here?
I did do. I went to those two places. I became good friends with someone who has, as well, who has an organic blueberry farm
Uh-huh.
at Sprout Lake, and I adore
Oh, there
Sprout
you go.
Lake. Yeah, and went horseback riding there, and watch the bears come out at night down by the water. And what else did I manage to do? Oh, the railroad,
Oh, yes, yes. There is a
uh,
hiking trail that leads to a railroad
yeah.
somewhere.
And then I was there visiting at Christmas one time and got to take advantage of a Port Alberni Christmas. It was wonderful. So yeah, it is it is it is a it is a funny it is a funny, eclectic, warm, and welcoming it just is, and it's so full of art.
Oh, yes, definitely. That's one of the things that Colton shared with me. He says envisions Port Alberni to be a hub of artists for art and writers and hopefully even a filming area, a popular filming area for TV shows and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's gonna
Yeah.
happen one of these days, and hope you will be back by then.
Hey, is Steampunk's still open?
Sorry.
Is
Yes,
the,
it just
is it?
reopened. It is. So Steampunk's open, Power. So everything's reopening already. So
Okay.
Power of Trees now open again, and Steampunk is open again. Bird's Beans. I don't know if you ever got
Yeah,
to.
I used to go up to Bird's Beans
Mhm.
with Pat and Chris and that a lot too. I like it up there. Yeah, make great tea.
Well, I'm so glad that we had a time to chat today, and you have had a wonderful Alberni Valley experience and are looking into the prospects of coming back to
We're
having
gonna
another
yeah,
wonderful Alberni Valley
yeah,
experience.
wonderful.
Normally, I would ask a rapid fire question, but that is for people who are living here. But anyway, to sum it up, darling, what would you say about your 6 month experience? How would you sum up your 6 months experience living in Port Alberni?
Well, from where I was at that time in my life, it was a radically it altering and enlightening experience, and it helped me to regain a lot of my personal uh, like faith in myself and in my own goals, and it just yeah, taught me a lot, taught me to respect differences even more, and accept people's warmth and friendship even more. And yeah, it was just it is, again, I said, it's a funny, eccentric, eclectic, warm community. It's a wonderful place.
And I'm so happy that even in that short time, the valley had a good effect on you and had a wonderful. Because of that, you have had a wonderful Alberni Valley experience.
I
Thank
have.
you for taking the time to talk to me today, Francis. And I hope that people who are watching would subscribe to our channel and give us a like or a comment here and there, and follow us on Facebook. Thank you again, Francis. I'm looking forward to your visit.
I'm
In the
looking forward to
meantime,
seeing
that's
you.
it for the wave. We'll catch you next time on the wave.